The hospital room door swung open with a force that shattered the sterile silence, and there stood Maeve's parents, their faces etched with desperation they had never shown her before. "Maeve, please," her mother gasped, clutching a stack of papers like a lifeline. "Your sister's life depends on this." Maeve's heart lurched. Maeve, the outcast, the one they had erased from family photos and holiday cards because she dared to love a woman, now held the power to save Magnolia, her identical twin, the golden child they had always favored. Maeve stared at the documents thrust into her hands, her mind reeling. It was a consent form for an experimental treatment, one that required the signature of a next of kin with matching genetics, hers as Magnolia's twin. The irony burned like acid in her throat. For years they had pretended she didn't exist, and now with Magnolia lying comatose in the bed beside them, tubes snaking across her pale skin, they needed her. How many nights had Maeve lain awake, questioning if her very existence was a mistake, if her love for women made her unworthy of the family bond that Magnolia enjoyed so effortlessly. She remembered the day it all fractured. Back in their suburban Chicago home when they were 18. Maeve had come out, her voice trembling but resolute, expecting at least a sliver of understanding from the parents who preached love in church every Sunday. Instead, her father's face had twisted in disgust. "This is not who we raised you to be," he had thundered, while her mother wept as if Maeve had died. Magnolia, ever the peacemaker, had tried to intervene, but even she couldn't bridge the chasm that opened that day. "They're just scared," Magnolia had whispered later, hugging Maeve tightly. But fear turned to rejection. Maeve was cut off financially, emotionally, banished to fend for herself while Magnolia stayed, basking in their approval. Now at 28, Maeve had built a life in New York, far from the suffocating judgments of her Midwestern roots. She worked as a graphic designer, her days filled with color palettes and client meetings that distracted her from the void inside. But the calls from home had started a month ago. Magnolia's car accident, the coma, the slim chances. Maeve had flown back immediately, not for her parents but for her sister, the one person who had never fully turned away. Yet standing here, the pen hovering over the line, Maeve felt the weight of every slight, every holiday ignored, every birthday card returned unopened. "Why me?" Maeve finally asked, her voice steady despite the storm within. Her father shifted uncomfortably, avoiding her gaze. "The doctors say a twin's consent carries more weight legally, especially with the genetic match for the trial drug." But Maeve knew it was more than that. Magnolia's husband had refused to sign, citing religious objections to experimental medicine, leaving the decision to the family. And with Maeve being the closest blood relative, unmarried and unburdened by such convictions, she was their last hope. Inside, Maeve's thoughts churned. Should she sign? Part of her screamed yes for Magnolia, who had secretly sent money when Maeve was struggling, who had called on lonely nights to remind her she was loved. But another part, the wounded child, whispered no. Let them feel the loss they inflicted on me. The moral quandary gripped her. Was revenge worth her sister's life? The room felt smaller, the beeping monitors a relentless reminder of time slipping away. Her mother reached out, her hand trembling. "We know we've hurt you, Maeve. But please, for your sister." Maeve pulled back, the touch feeling like a betrayal. Hurt? They had demolished her. Growing up, the twins were inseparable, sharing secrets under the covers, dreaming of futures where they conquered the world together. But when Maeve realized her attractions leaned toward girls in high school, she hid it, fearing the fallout. Magnolia had suspected, had even encouraged her to be true to herself. "Love is love," Magnolia had said once during a late-night talk. Yet when push came to shove, Magnolia had stayed silent as their parents packed Maeve's bags. Maeve paced the room, her mind flashing to her life now. She had a girlfriend, Elena, back in New York, strong, supportive Elena who had urged her to come here. "Family is complicated," Elena had said, kissing her forehead. "But regret is worse." Was it? Maeve wondered if signing would mean forgiving, or if it was just another way they used her. The societal pressure loomed too, the expectation that blood ties trump all, even when that blood had been spilled by rejection. Finally, she gripped the pen tighter. "I'll sign," she muttered, scrawling her name with a flourish that masked her turmoil. But as the ink dried, she felt no relief, only a deepening rift. What had she just traded? Her principles for a ghost of family? The doctor nodded gratefully, whisking the papers away, but Maeve's eyes locked on Magnolia's still form. "Wake up," she pleaded silently. "Wake up and tell me this was worth it." The days blurred into a vigil at the hospital. Maeve's parents hovered, their gratitude laced with awkwardness. "Thank you," her father said gruffly one evening, as if the words were foreign. Maeve nodded, but inside she seethed. Thank you? For what? Existing only when convenient. She thought of the years she spent therapy sessions unpacking the abandonment, the self-doubt that crept into every relationship. Elena had been patient, but even she couldn't fill the parental void. Magnolia stirred slightly one night, her fingers twitching. Maeve was alone with her, the room dimmed. "Hey, Mags," she whispered, taking her hand. "I signed the damn thing. Now you owe me." In her mind, Maeve replayed their last conversation before the accident. A phone call where Magnolia confessed her marriage was crumbling. "He's so traditional, Maeve. Like Dad." It had been a rare admission of imperfection from the perfect twin. As the treatment began, injecting hope into Magnolia's veins, Maeve felt the first cracks in her resolve. Maybe this was a chance for redemption, not just for her sister, but for all of them. But doubt lingered. Could she ever trust them again? The answer eluded her as the machines hummed on. The experimental drug coursed through Magnolia's system, and for a fleeting moment, hope flickered in the sterile air of the ICU. But Maeve couldn't shake the unease gnawing at her core. Had she just handed her family another weapon to wield against her? As she sat by the bedside, watching the monitors beep in rhythmic accusation, her thoughts spiraled back to the choices that had led here, each one a thread in the tangled web of love, loyalty, and loss. Her parents' presence became a constant shadow, their attempts at conversation feeling like interrogations. "How's life in New York?" her mother asked one afternoon, her voice laced with forced cheer. Maeve glanced up from her phone, where Elena's texts offered a lifeline of normalcy. "Fine," she replied curtly, unwilling to offer more. Inside she screamed. "How dare you ask now after years of silence?" The societal lens magnified everything, the expectation that she, the lesbian daughter, should swallow her pride for the sake of family harmony, as if her identity was the root of all discord. Magnolia's condition stabilized slightly, enough for whispers of recovery, but the waiting unearthed buried resentments. Maeve recalled the family dinners where Magnolia was praised for her engagement to a good Christian man, while Maeve's achievements, a scholarship to art school, were dismissed. "She's just going through a phase," her father had said once, as if her sexuality was a temporary affliction. The pain of that dismissal had driven Maeve to excel, to prove her worth beyond their narrow views, but success tasted hollow without acknowledgement. One evening, alone with her thoughts in the hospital cafeteria, Maeve confronted the moral maze. Signing the form was right for Magnolia, but what about for herself? Was she perpetuating the cycle by stepping back into their world? Elena called then, her voice a bomb. "You're strong, Maeve. But don't let them define you again." Strong, yes, but at what cost? The internal conflict raged. Forgive and heal, or hold firm and protect her heart. The next day brought a confrontation. Her father cornered her in the hallway. "We need to talk about the past." Maeve's pulse quickened. Now? When Mags is fighting for her life. He persisted, his eyes pleading. "We were wrong. Scared. The church, the community, they influenced us." Maeve laughed bitterly. Influenced? They had chosen doctrine over daughter. "You disown me because I love women. That's not fear. That's hate." The words hung heavy, a dam breaking after years of restraint. He flinched but pressed on. "Magnolia always defended you. She fought with us behind closed doors." Maeve's heart twisted. Had she? Why hadn't Magnolia said so? The betrayal stung anew, not from parents, but from the sister she idolized. Back in the room, Maeve watched Magnolia, searching for signs of the ally she remembered. A faint squeeze of her hand, real or imagined, sparked hope but also questions. What secrets had Magnolia kept? As weeks passed, Magnolia's eyes fluttered open, her voice a weak croak. "Maeve." The reunion was tearful, but laced with undercurrents. "Thank you," Magnolia whispered, gripping her hand. Maeve nodded, but inside turmoil brewed. "Thank you for what, saving you or absolving them?" The family gathered, a fragile tableau, but Maeve felt like an outsider still. Her mother's hug felt tentative, her father's nod grudging. Magnolia's recovery accelerated, but so did the revelations. In quiet moments, she confessed, "I should have left with you, but I was scared of losing everything." Maeve absorbed this, the admission a double-edged sword. Scared, everyone was scared, but only she had paid the price. The societal pressure on Magnolia, to be the perfect daughter wife, had trapped her too. But was that excuse enough? Maeve's mind raced with decisions. Stay and rebuild or return to New York and her life with Elena. The choice loomed, each path fraught with trade-offs. Staying meant facing daily reminders of rejection. Leaving meant abandoning Magnolia again. The drama intensified when Magnolia's husband, Tom, arrived, his presence a storm cloud. "I didn't sign because it's against God's will," he declared, eyeing Maeve with disdain. The room tensed, old prejudices resurfacing. Maeve stood her ground. God's will? Or yours? The argument escalated, voices rising as years of unspoken grievances erupted. Tom accused Maeve of influencing Magnolia negatively. Her parents wavered, caught between old beliefs and new necessities. Magnolia, still weak, tried to mediate. "Stop, please." But the damage was done. Maeve saw the fractures clearly now. In the solitude of her hotel room that night, Maeve wept, the weight of it all crushing. Had signing been a mistake? It saved a life but reopened wounds. She thought of Elena, of the freedom they shared, unburdened by judgment. Yet family pulled like gravity. The internal debate raged. Was blood worth the bleed? As Magnolia grew stronger, she pulled Maeve aside. "I want a divorce." Tom's control, it's suffocating. The confession shocked Maeve. Her perfect sister, unraveling? Why now? Magnolia's eyes filled with tears. "Seeing you here, strong despite everything, made me realize I deserve better." Maeve felt a surge of pride mixed with sorrow. Better, yes, but at what cost to them both? The high tension built, decisions hanging in the balance. Maeve pondered her next move, the ethical tightrope thinning. Forgive, fight, or flee? The answer would define them all. Magnolia's declaration of divorce sent ripples through the family, transforming the hospital room into a battlefield of whispered accusations and tear-streaked faces. Maeve stood frozen, her mind a whirlwind. Had her presence ignited this, or was it inevitable? As Tom stormed out, slamming the door with a finality that echoed her own past exile, Maeve questioned if her signature had saved one life only to dismantle others. The aftermath was a maelstrom of emotions. Her parents, reeling from the news, turned to Maeve with pleading eyes. "Talk to her," her mother begged. "She's not thinking straight." Not thinking straight. The irony wasn't lost on Maeve, who had heard that phrase weaponized against her own choices. Inside, she battled. Intervene and risk being the villain, or support Magnolia and deepen the family divide. The societal mirror reflected harshly the expectation that women, especially in their conservative circle, prioritize marriage over self. Magnolia, propped up in bed, looked resolute despite her frailty. "I've been unhappy for years, Maeve. You showed me there's life beyond their rules." Maeve's heart swelled with validation, but doubt crept in. Was she a catalyst or a scapegoat? Memories flooded. The twins' childhood, where Magnolia always conformed while Maeve rebelled subtly. Now roles reversed and the price was steep. The confrontation with her parents came that evening. "This is your influence," her father accused, his voice low but venomous. Maeve met his gaze. Influence? Or truth? Magnolia deserves happiness, not a cage. The words ignited a firestorm. Her mother sobbed. "We just want our family whole." Whole, except for the part they discarded. Maeve's internal monologue raged. "How can it be whole when I'm the missing piece they refused to fit?" As days turned to discharge plans, Magnolia confided more. Tom controlled everything, finances, friends. "I stayed for the kids, but now." She had 2 young children, Maeve realized with a pang. The nieces she had never met, thanks to the family's silence. The moral complexity deepened. Supporting divorce meant uprooting innocence, but opposing it betrayed her own values. What was right when every choice hurt someone? Elena flew in, her arrival a breath of fresh air amid the chaos. "I'm here for you," she said, holding Maeve close in the hospital lobby. The simple act drew stares from passersby, a reminder of the societal scrutiny they faced daily. Maeve leaned into her, drawing strength, but guilt nagged. Was she selfish for wanting to escape back to their life? The family meeting was tense, arranged in a neutral conference room. Tom returned, lawyer in tow, threatening custody battles. She's unstable, he claimed, gesturing at Magnolia. Maeve intervened, her voice steady. Unstable? Or finally free? The argument escalated, revelations spilling. Tom's affairs, Magnolia's suppressed dreams. Her parents wavered, torn between tradition and their daughter's pain. Maeve's mind churned with the ethics. Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Tom's infidelity, her parents' hypocrisy, Magnolia's hidden suffering. She thought of her own journey. The therapy that taught her self-worth wasn't conditional. You have to choose yourself, she told Magnolia privately. But choosing meant loss. For Magnolia, her home. For Maeve, any hope of reconciliation. The climax built when her father pulled her aside. We regret what we did to you. Seeing Magnolia like this, we see the harm. Tears glistened in his eyes. Maeve wanted to believe, but skepticism held firm. Regret now, when desperation forced it. The internal conflict peaked. Forgive and risk more hurt, or guard her heart. Magnolia signed the divorce papers in secret, with Maeve as witness. This is for me, she said, hand shaking. Maeve nodded, but worry not. The children. How would they fare in this upheaval? Societal judgment loomed, whispers of broken home, echoing the slurs Maeve had endured. As Magnolia moved to a rehab facility, the family fragmented further. Her parents blamed Maeve subtly, their gratitude souring. You encouraged this, her mother hissed one day. Maeve absorbed the blow, her resolve hardening. Encouraged? Or empowered? The distinction blurred in the drama's heat. Elena's presence grounded her, but even that strained. This is taking a toll, Elena admitted over dinner. Maeve felt the pull, loyalty to sister versus partner. The choice loomed, each path a sacrifice. In quiet moments, Maeve reflected on the broader canvas. The LGBTQ struggles woven into everyday life. The fight against norms that crushed spirits. Her story, Magnolia's, mirrors of a society slow to change. But change demanded pain, and Maeve wondered if she could bear more. The tension mounted as custody hearings loomed, Tom vowing to paint Magnolia as unfit, dragging Maeve's sexuality into the fray. Your sister's influence, he sneered in a heated call. Maeve hung up, fury boiling. Influence, again that word, twisting love into poison. Amid it all, Magnolia blossomed slightly, her eyes brighter. Thank you for showing me strength, she said. Maeve smiled faintly, but inside the cost tallied. Her peace, her time, her heart reopened to wounds. The drama crested, decisions irreversible now. What price? Freedom. Maeve pondered, the answer elusive as ever. The courtroom loomed like a judgment day. Its wooden benches filled with the ghosts of family secrets now laid bare under fluorescent lights. Maeve sat beside Magnolia, her hands squeezing her sister's in silent solidarity as Tom presented his case, his lawyer painting a picture of instability fueled by deviant influences. The words stung, a direct echo of the prejudices that had exiled Maeve years ago, and she wondered if this fight for her sister's freedom would cost her own hard-won serenity. The proceedings dragged, each testimony a dagger. Magnolia's children, too young to understand, were mentioned in clinical terms: custody, visitation, support. Maeve's mind raced. Was this the right path? Supporting Magnolia meant endorsing upheaval for innocence. Yet silence would condemn her sister to misery. The ethical bind tightened. Family loyalty versus child welfare, personal truth against societal norms. Her parents testified reluctantly, their words halting. We support our daughter, her father said, but his eyes betrayed conflict. Maeve saw the cracks, their conservative world crumbling under the weight of change. Inside, she battled resentment. They supported now, but where were they when she needed them? The hypocrisy fueled her determination. Magnolia took the stand, her voice steady. I stayed too long in a loveless marriage. I deserve happiness. The judge nodded thoughtfully, but Tom's side countered with emails, old arguments, twisting Maeve's visits into evidence of disruption. Her sister's lifestyle confused things, the lawyer argued. Lifestyle, the term reduced her love to a choice, igniting Maeve's fury. Post-hearing in the hallway, Tom confronted them. This is on you, he spat at Maeve. turning her against me. Magnolia stepped forward. No, Tom. This is on us, our failures. The exchange was raw, betrayals exposed. Maeve pulled her sister away, her heart pounding. Failures, yes, but whose? Back at the hotel, Elena held her as she vented. It's like reliving my coming out. Elena nodded. But you're not alone this time. The support warmed her, but doubt lingered. Was dragging Elena into this fair? The relationship strained under the distance and drama. As weeks passed, awaiting the ruling, Magnolia opened up more. I envied you, Maeve. Your courage to live authentically. Envy. Maeve had envied her, the acceptance, the family. The revelation shifted perspectives. Both trapped in different cages. We can rebuild together, Magnolia suggested. Together, tempting, but Maeve feared the pull back into toxicity. Her parents reached out tentatively. A dinner invitation, awkward but sincere. We're trying to understand, her mother said over pasta. Maeve listened, sharing bits of her life with Elena. Their reactions, surprise then cautious questions, sparked hope, but wariness remained. Understanding now, after necessity forced it? The internal storm raged. Forgive for healing? Or hold grudges for protection? Society's voice whispered conformity, but Maeve's spirit rebelled. The LGBTQ journey taught resilience, but at what toll? The ruling came, joint custody divorce granted. Relief washed over Magnolia, tears flowing. Free, she whispered. But freedom's price hit hard, Tom's bitterness, the children's confusion. Maeve hugged her, masking her own turmoil. Free yes, but scarred. Post-divorce, Magnolia moved in temporarily with their parents, the arrangement fragile. Maeve visited, tensions simmering. One night an argument erupted. You pushed her into this, her father accused. Maeve exploded. Pushed? I showed her options, you denied me. The room fell silent, truths hanging. Magnolia defended her. Maeve saved me twice. The acknowledgement healed a sliver, but wounds ran deep. Maeve returned to New York briefly, Elena's arms a sanctuary. I miss you, Elena said. The distance highlighted sacrifices. Time away from work, from love. Was it worth it? Back in Chicago, Magnolia flourished, pursuing a degree delayed by marriage. Inspired by you, she said. Maeve felt pride but also loss. The twin bond, once pure, now layered with complexity. The family attempted therapy sessions raw with confessions. Her parents admitted fears rooted in upbringing, church doctrines. We lost you because of ignorance, her mother cried. Maeve listened, tears falling. Ignorance, excuse or explanation. Forgiveness teetered. As bonds mended tentatively, Maeve pondered the broader impact. Challenging norms saved her sister but exposed vulnerabilities. The drama's toll. Emotional exhaustion, relational strains. In a quiet moment, Magnolia asked, was it all worth it? Maeve paused, the question mirroring her own. Worth it for growth, yes, for pain, debatable. The story's arc bent toward awakening, but shadows lingered. Choices made, prices paid, what now? With the divorce finalized and Magnolia stepping into her new life, the family gathered for a tentative reunion dinner in their old Chicago home, the air thick with unspoken resolutions and lingering regrets. Maeve sat across from her parents, her fork tracing patterns in her food, wondering if this fragile piece was built on genuine change or mere circumstance. As laughter trickled in over shared memories of the twins' childhood pranks, Maeve's mind wandered to the costs tallied in silence, the years stolen, the hearts mended at the edge of breaking. Magnolia, radiant in her newfound independence, proposed a toast. To second chances. Glasses clinked but Maeve's hand trembled. Second chances for whom? She had given them, signing away her resentment for her sister's sake, but the internal ledger remained unbalanced. Society's gaze still judged. The lesbian who disrupted the perfect family, now the reluctant hero. Post-dinner in the backyard under stars, Magnolia pulled her aside. I came out to them about my feelings. Maeve's eyes widened. Feelings? Magnolia nodded, blushing. I've questioned things too. Meeting your Elena. It opened my eyes. The confession stunned Maeve, her twin, mirroring her path. Joy mingled with fear. Would history repeat with rejection anew? Their parents' reaction had been muted surprise, then awkward acceptance. We're learning, her father had said. Learning progress but slow. Maeve hugged Magnolia, whispering, "Be true no matter what." Inside, Triumph warred with caution, her influence once vilified now a beacon. Elena's visit sealed the shift. Introduced formally, she charmed with stories, easing tensions. "Proud of you," Elena murmured to Maeve later. The support fortified her, but reflections persisted. Had she sacrificed too much of their time together? As months passed, Magnolia dated a woman discreetly, navigating coming out in their conservative circles. Whispers followed, friends distancing, church members judging. Maeve advised from afar, her own experiences a guide. It hurts, but freedom heals. Yet she questioned. Was pushing authenticity ethical when it invited pain? Family holidays reformed, inclusive now. Maeve attended Thanksgiving, Elena by her side. Laughter flowed, but undercurrents remained, subtle glances, unspoken questions. Her mother's hug lingered longer, a silent apology. Forgiveness crept in, not wholesale but piecemeal. The awakening deepened when Magnolia faced backlash at work. Her promotion stalled amid rumors. "This is the price," she told Maeve tearfully. Price, yes, the same Maeve had paid. Solidarity bound them tighter, but sorrow lingered for the innocence lost. Maeve's career thrived back in New York, designs infused with personal stories. Yet therapy sessions unpacked the residue. Abandonment issues, trust barriers. "You've grown," her therapist noted. "Grown through fire, yes." A final confrontation arose when Tom sought reconciliation. Guilt-ridden. "I was wrong," he admitted over coffee. Maeve listened for Magnolia's sake, but her response was measured. Wrong does damage. Healing takes time. The meeting closed a chapter, but scars endured. As the story wove toward closure, Maeve reflected on the journey. Shocks, betrayals, awakenings. Choices made, intentions grip shape them, right or wrong. In the end, bonds strengthened, but fragility remained. Maeve wondered, had the pain forged something unbreakable, or merely tolerable? Was it right to prioritize personal truth over family stability, even when it shatters lives?